any protective equipment?
Yes, I have protective boots and a high vis, and I also wear on site, if I'm on the roof, a harness.
Mark saw me pull up and came down to meet me at my car where I parked. I put my safety boots on. He said you need a high vis jacket, so he went and grabbed me one from Chris's car, and then we went off to the scaffolding area. As I went up to the top of the ladder, we went round to see where Chris was working. Chris saw I was there, turned around, just said hello, all right, and that was it. And he went back to doing his job, and we had to move a bit of I don't know what it was, a piece of guttering, a roof sheet, I'm not sure. So Mark asked me to give him a hand.
And then what happened?
I don't remember much after that, I'm afraid. I woke up apparently having fallen through the roof with the paramedics around me.
Good afternoon, everybody. Before we move on to the defence case, with a number of conversations going on over lunch, and individuals in particular were raising the issue over language issues and health and safety. Of course, if you're a very large company, you can have the resources in order to ensure that documentation is in multilingual. One of the individuals discussing things with said, well, what we do is that we effectively we make sure that they, we ask them, do you understand? And as I indicated, that's the wrong question. It's not about whether the worker understands, because what they're going to say. Yeah, because they don't want to be out of a job. It's as to whether or not you are satisfied that they understand. And marking down somewhere on some document the reasons why you are satisfied that they understand. So if later on something, God forbid, does happen, you've got an A-memoir to remind yourself as to why that individual A satisfied you. What was your decision-making process? Anything in particular? And the best way to show that you're doing that properly is to have evidence of cases of individuals whom you have not been satisfied they understood, and therefore you rejected them for the work or whatever. Because it's a bit like a pub or a nightclub. When the police come round to see if their policies are working properly, what the first thing they'll say to the club is, can we see who you've refused service to, or you've kicked out? Where's your list? Who have you barred? If there is no list, then the inference is they haven't been applying the policy to bar people when appropriate. And the paper trail, you might not need it for 6 years down the line, 3 years down the line. You may not remember the individuals involved, or people could have moved on within your company, people could have retired. The old adage is, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. We did touch upon writing things down and that earlier, but complacency on keeping records will only undermine you at the later date. And if you are a good employer, and if you are law-abiding, and if you do have the proper systems in place, not to have a record of them, well, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. That's the reality. But that's just one of the messages which we've had over the lunch and adjournment. Has anyone got any questions before we start the afternoon? So.
Just a couple of points on that. Defended a number of cases, particularly up in London with construction companies, where the HSE quite fancy taking a case when you've got somebody with English is not their first language. And they do investigate that. And so we've got clients who provide the induction process as a, I better get away from feedback here. I feel like I'm on the stage now. An induction process which is covered in Polish, covered in Romanian, or if you go up into East Anglia, up into those areas, up in Portuguese. So those are the things they expect people to. They say, if you're going to employ a population like that, you've got to look after them just as well as you look after anybody else. No matter how enthusiastic and all the rest of it, you've got to look after them. And those are the sort of standards that they're looking at. And the proof that you have to provide is say, yes, it's somebody who's very keen to sort of a job and say yes, 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 that they do understand it. And also, this idea of paper trails and things like that, people will groan about paper trails. So now is a time where we can take advantage of non-paper, but it's still proof. I'm advising a client, on about photographic records when we're doing inductions, we take a photograph of who's in the room. instead of having a signature and things like that, and that goes downloaded onto the system. Instead of a permit to work describing the actual pipe that's going to be cut through and things like that, a picture's taken of it with the actual thing, with the person next to it. So these things make it easier for your paper trail to disappear, but to keep your proof. Proof is all, as you say.
So Richard will now begin the defence case for, it shouldn't take long really. Bob open, no open.
Yeah. Can we call Chris Woodford, please?
If you could raise your right arm, please. And repeat after me. I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm
I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm
that the evidence I give shall be the truth,
the evidence I shall give shall be the truth,
the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Thank you.
Mr. Woodford, can you explain to us the nature of your business? What do you do?
I'm sort of one-man building contractor, if you want. That's the best way of describing it.
And can you give us an example of what sort of jobs you're involved in?
Mostly agricultural, especially where we are and where we're based. A lot of farms, buildings, farms, conversions.
And would you say one person involved there? Do you employ anybody?
I bring in help, and I bring in local people and contractors, and more self-employed people.
Self-employed people. Do you know these people that you bring in? Do you?
Yeah.
Do they have a track record with you?
99%, yeah, the ones used regularly. Occasionally, that there might be the odd job where we need to go looking a little bit further afield and need more people, but normally, yes, we do know them.
And do you apply any sort of criteria for employing or using them, as I say, because you don't employ them, but you just use them?
A lot of it is recommendation and reference, word of mouth. That they've done good jobs before, and people tell us who's good and who isn't good.
Thank you. Well, let's use an example of, in this case, Mr. Bowers. How did he come about?
Mr.
Bowers? Mr. Mark?
I've known Mark for a while. He's a local guy who's done some work for us for a few years. I'm not sure how many years ago we met, to be honest. We've been working, but probably 4 or 5 years we've been working with Mark.
Mr. Vogt, can you tell us where the witness statement is for this?
The witness statement, I'm afraid, is the interview under caution.
Right.
So it's basically that was the only statement that my client provided.
So why haven't you complied with the criminal procedure rules and provided a witness statement?
The witness statement here is, we haven't complied with that, sir, because of the swiftness of providing this case before and getting it to court. We didn't want to delay the court any further. I inherited this case at a very short notice, and I found that it would be serve justice best, the criminal procedure rules, Rule 1, in the interest of justice, that we got the case to court instead of any further delay.
Yeah, just check, Mr. Campbell, is the prosecution disadvantaged by not having a witness statement?
No, Your Honour, or Your Highness, we know that you're going to make it because he goes along anyway, so we're quite happy.
I'll just ask you the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll carry on. It's not very satisfactory.
I no doubt I do apologise to the court and to the jury as well. So, Mr. Bowers, he was a trusted colleague of yours.
Oh,
you didn't?
Yeah, like you used to go have a drink sometimes, out of work.
Yeah, and you've seen him, and you have seen him actually in action over a period of time.
I've worked with him for 4 or 5 years. So.
And you've seen him work at height?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. In this job, if we just concentrate on this job in hand that we're discussing today, how did you come about actually being involved in this process?
I had a phone call from John Crouchley at Arkwright. So again, I've known for a few years, I've done a bit of work for him, and he said there was a job on.
Okay. Did the nature of the job was that the normal sort of run-of-the-mill sort of type work that you do?
Yeah, it was. He basically described it. They'd had some roofing put up and some scaffolding, and there was an erection of some structure on the roof which they needed taking down.
Okay.
So my job was to take it down, basically.
Your job was to take it down, and you found nothing challenging with that? As
Not really. It was a bit slow.
it's a bit slow.
Wouldn't have been how I'd done it.
What sort of paperwork were you provided with?
I can't remember. I'm really not sure. John did give me. He showed me some paperwork. I wasn't ever given any.
Did he ask you for input into that paperwork that he showed you?
No.
No. But basically, he told you by word of mouth that what he wanted you to do.
Yeah. It was clear to me.
It's clear to you, and you were happy with that.
Yeah.
When you saw what you had to do, did you think that there would be alternative ways of doing it?
Yeah, it's not how I do it. It's we'd use a net underneath, but I was told that couldn't be done. There's a shop open down below. It wasn't feasible. It would cost too much. It would drag the job out. But the way we ended up having to do it with scaffolding just dragged it out twice as much anyway. So, but I just do as I'm told and get on with it. What
would have happened if you said that you would like a net?
Well, we had a chat about it, but it was basically it wasn't happening. I got to be careful. I need the money. I need the work, and I can't go to people like John and Arkwright and say I'm not going to do that because they're not. I don't get the work. I don't get the money. I need it.
Thank you, Mr. Woodford. So, as the job progressed, did you feel that it was appropriately staffed?
It was okay until there was a point where they had double layers of boards with the scaffolding up the side, and it was just really dragging it out. I had a conversation with John, or he had a conversation with me actually, because I think he knew it needed some more hands on it as well. We had a chat and he agreed, yeah, we need another pair of hands on this to get this down and get it sorted so it doesn't keep dragging out.
Did you think the methodology was safe? Did you feel safe?
Yeah, it's fine.
Can you describe roughly the methodology to the jury, please?
What needed doing was that the boards needed handling down with guttering and needed coming down. And rather than one person or two people on harnesses up there then having to take the board, move it, unclip, then move again and clip on, it was easier to pass to another person just to keep, like a chain if you want. It's far easier and far quicker, and it's just a process that would then flow.
And that person, that third person, as it were, where would they be stood?
Well, we hadn't really looked at it because it didn't happen.
Okay.
That work with the extra pair of hands, obviously, because of the really nasty accident, didn't happen.
But you were going to wear a harness.
Yeah, I always do.
And Mr. Bowers going to wear a harness.
Yeah.
Was the third person? Was it a necessity for the third person to wear a harness?
Well, again, depending on where they went, but if they stayed at the point of scaffolding behind the handrail and the toe boards and didn't come off onto the roof, then no, they wouldn't need to.
So they'd be stood on a solid platform with handrails around them.
It's fine. Yeah, absolutely, it's fine.
So if they didn't move from that point, they would be absolutely safe.
Absolutely.
Okay. Moving on, and that was your intention for that third person to stay?
Yeah.
Okay. On the day of the incident, then, I won't drag this out too long, Mr. Woodford. On the day of the incident, you started work.
Yeah.
You were expecting this third person to arrive, Mr. Wanley. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
What did you know of Mr. Wanley?
I didn't know anything about him other than because I asked Mark to if he knew somebody because I couldn't find anyone at the time. Mark said he knew someone who had a bit of experience in the building game, and I said, look, they just needed to be safe, sensible, not stupid, and then we could explain what was needed. At the end of the day, we didn't need it didn't need a rocket scientist. It needed someone who could pass things from A to B safely, and that was it. So we needed someone sensible.
And somebody to stand in the position of safety.
Yes.
Okay, so and so you've got that, and you trust Mr. Bauer's judgment on this?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Okay. So on that day, Mr. Wanley arrived on site. It was John Crouchley, sorry.
Yeah.
John Crouchley.
Yeah.
He wasn't there that day.
No.
Would Mr. Crouchley normally conduct inductions?
He would, and there was another guy from our Crites who used to do them as well, and there was a safety person who used to do them.
That's a person called Colin something, is it? Yes.
I think so, yeah.
So the fact that Mr. Crouchley wasn't there to conduct the induction, was that a problem with you?
It wasn't a problem because the whole intention was to talk to Derek when he got there and explain what needed doing, and we could go through all the rules and all the safety bits that have to be done.
Mr. Crouchley, though, if he was there, he would have conducted. Did he say that you shouldn't have anybody there that day because he wasn't there?
No.
Did you ever have a conversation where he said, "Do not bring anybody on site unless I am there"?
No, we had the conversation. I think it was the night before, the 22nd. We had the conversation the night before, where it was discussed that we needed to bring that person on, and I said what would happen in the morning. We would carry on. So,
Mr. Crouchley then wouldn't be following the systems of that site. Would you agree, though?
I'm not so up to speed with all these systems, but if that's what it is, then no.
So, and you don't know the systems of the site, you wouldn't?
Not really. I do what John tells me to do.
Yeah. So, John...
Sorry, Mr. Falk, I'm just slightly confused. Can you just explain to the jury, what do you mean by Mr. Crouchley wouldn't be following the systems of the site? Which systems are you talking about?
The systems we were talking about earlier, sir, was about the control measures on that site, people coming on the site, the people who are in control of the site, how they allow people on the site, and what measure of control they would have of people coming on and off their site, whether it's the retail side of things, but in this case on the construction side. So I'm trying to explore with this witness how familiar he was with the systems that he was part of.
When you say he, do you mean the witness or Mr. Crouchley?
With the witness, with the systems that Mr. Crouchley was instigating as the representative of the owner of the site, how familiar he was with them, and how he'd expect them to be fulfilled if the instigator of the system was not present.
But how can the witness say what Mr. Crouchley would have done?
I was just exploring what exactly did happen and the level of knowledge of the witness.
And we know from the other evidence that Mr. Crouchley wasn't there in any event.
Exactly, sir. Exactly, sir.
All right. Okay. I understand.
Thank you. So on the day, Mr. Wanley turns up. Did you know what time he was turning up?
No, I was. It's a real shame because I thought he'd be there when we start work, and then that's where that's your start of the working day. You meet down in the staff room. You can tell him what's going on, have a cup of tea, tell him what's going on. Everybody knows what's happening, and then you can start work. But Mark had told me that he was going to be late because he was picking his girlfriend up or something, taking her somewhere. I don't know.
And did you see him attend site? Did you see him arrive at the site?
I saw him when he came up the scaffolding, and I'd been at work for an hour and a half, I think, and I was in the middle of something. So I saw him when he came up just before the accident.
And Just to confirm it for the jury, did you give any instructions to Mr. Bowers to bringing up the scaffold at that time?
No.
And so when the first time you saw him, when he was actually up the scaffold,
Yeah.
and you said, if I may just reiterate, you said that normally you meet them on the ground.
Yeah, and that's the way you discuss your working day and what you're going to do.
So what did you do at that point?
I was using a rattle gun at the time, a pneumatic gun, so I'm going to, with some guttering and sheeting, so I'm going to try and put that down. And what I wanted to do was go across and see him, and then we could explain what needs to be done and how it's done. At least, maybe it wouldn't have happened. Maybe we could have shown him where he could go and couldn't go, and they didn't even know where the toilets were.
So that was your intention to do straight away?
Oh, yeah,
as soon as
yeah,
you had the first
absolutely.
opportunity?
Yeah, but with what I was doing, I couldn't just stop with what I was doing. I'd have dropped everything.
At that point, was he in a place of danger?
No, not where he was stood with Mark when he first come up now.
And did you feel that, with Mark there, that the situation was in control?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'll stop my questions there, Your Honour.
So when you see the lad on the scaffold, why don't you say stop? Go back down.
Because I was busy.
How long would it have taken you to have said, go back down, wait for me? Should we say 5 seconds?
Yeah.
So for 5 seconds of you pausing, because you notice he's there, don't you? You say hello to him.
Yeah.
So that takes, hello, that's 1 and a bit seconds. So why didn't you say, hello, do us a favour, get back down. I need to talk to you.